We are the tribe from the north, we're brave and we're bold. Defeating our rivals never gets old. Making our way to the Big Sky Conference. Watch out, 'cause here comes the silver and gold. Whoa, whoa. This is Tubbs at the club for the Vandals of Idaho.
Welcome back, Tribe from the North, brave and bold, to the official, unofficial podcast of your Idaho Vandals and the Vandal affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chris Hammond, and joining me today we have the Professor Brian Marceau. How are you, Brian?
Dude, it's the bye week, so I'm as relaxed as I can be. We're not going to lose, but we still have a lot of Vandal stuff to talk about, so I'm doing great.
We're also not going to win, but Alex the Boatman, how the heck are you?
Yeah, West Virginia plays Oklahoma this weekend, Chris. So that's how I am.
How did that? Didn't you upsell us on the game last week? How'd that go?
All right. We beat Virginia Tech. They were 15th in the country. Crowd was going crazy. We were up 27-7. We almost blow the lead. We have a goal line stand. We almost cooked it, actually. Yeah, we have a goal line stand in the last minute of the game from the fourth and goal. Stop them, get the ball back, take a knee. So beat number 15 Virginia Tech. Big game that takes our season from 1-2 in non-conference to 2-1, and now we going to play Oklahoma ABC primetime game of the week. Yeah.
This is your second weekly installment of What's
Chris
Going
asked.
On Mountaineers,
Well,
starring Alex Boatman and 3 spectators.
They pay the bills. What can I say?
Yeah, and then running the show from the shadows, producer Dallas. How are you?
I am doing all right. Boatman's boys got West Ham over the weekend, but again, we expected that, so that is what it is. And I'm looking forward to this bye week. I'm hoping we don't lose it like we lost it in 2012.
That game was just pure insanity. Anyway, sorry, I was going insane.
I wanted to go off the rails again. Dallas, was my strategy right last week of who do you want to win, pick against who you want to win?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But Brian, it got pretty close. It was honestly, for those who say soccer is boring, watch that game and tell me soccer's boring and you will have a wild ride. Yeah. So Dallas, I'm sorry, but it had to be Jesse Lingard.
I had to be the former West Ham low knee. Stabbed me in the heart in the 89th minute. Like, yeah.
It was that close, was it? Dang. I saw you guys chatting while I was driving.
It got even weirder, Chris. First of all, Ronaldo was denied 2 penalties, which then the Premier League came back and said after the fact should have both been penalties. So it was 2-1, 89th minute. Then Ronaldo should have been given a penalty in the 91st minute. They go down, throw a cross into the box. Luke Shaw gets called for handball on VAR review by Mike Dean. David Moyes subs on Mark Noble, who hasn't played a single touch in the game, to take the penalty, and De Gea saves it. Final kick of the game.
Everybody knows the best referee with the last name Dean. It's Herb Dean.
Oh, sorry, it was it was actually Martin Atkinson. But anyway, the game just got completely crazy. I was going insane. I don't know. Sorry, Dallas, but I needed that win.
Anyways,
you won too. You won 2 with your pick, so congrats.
As you can tell, I was in the woods per se this weekend, and the fact that I know just about nothing that happened this weekend. I did see Boise State lost. Alex Boatman, your plug for them only winning less than taking the under on 9 games this year. 2 down, 2 to go. Let's do it. I think it can happen. They could start 1-6. Just saying. You look at their schedule, probably not going to happen. Wild. Anyways, where were we? Oh, yeah. It's time to, I guess we didn't do a live reaction for Oregon State because just like our football team, this is just practice, baby. Practice. We
need to blame this on Dallas. There was an organized time to record. There was a live peer pressure online campaign, and somehow Dallas still couldn't do it. So, Chris, you're right. It is our off season, but we can take a second to blame Dallas for this, right?
Yeah. Just like we can play one whole quarterback for a whole game in a quarterback competition. We can do it.
I say we just blame me for everything from here on out. I'm okay with that.
people wanted it. Cade Coffee texted me today and said, "Hey, did you guys do a live post reaction?"
Dude,
I said,
"I got like 3 Instagram messages personally, not even on the Tubbs account." Yeah. I was like, I'm in a car, or it's like midnight. I have no idea what's going on. Brian said they were doing it, but Dallas was late. I have no idea, but we're here now. Let's pull some taps. I'm going to pull the first tap because this one is super freaking easy. I am under the permanent conclusion. Pour down, no argue, ifs, ands, buts about it. This is 100% factual statement. Take it to the bank. Pac-12 Oregon sucks. ESPN Plus is better. I tried to rewatch this game so I'd have some takes for you guys. I got like some local Oregon news channels highlight reel. So I have no clue what's going on. So I'm going to pull the tap. What the hell happened at Corvallis, Brian?
Man, what the hell happened in Corvallis? It was not a game Vandal fans are going to want to remember. We're down 14-0 early. The rain did matter in this game as well. This was, to me, really a rougher showing for Idaho. The main thing that a lot of our listeners should probably take away from this is we did get to see CJ Jordan with extended run against a team who's not Southern Utah, a team who's not Simon Fraser. Box score is not fantastic. We're going to go a little bit further into this and the quarterback thing in a minute. But broadly speaking, Idaho did have a couple of good drives early. We were looking like we might be competitive early. And Paul was pretty aggressive, went for it on 4th down a few times in the first quarter, went 0 for 3 on those, but none of them in my mind were egregious calls. It was the kind of game plan where if Idaho is going to win this game, we have to have some things go right. We're not going to be able to, hold the ball just away from Oregon and do the Weber State field position thing and win this game. It didn't work out for Idaho early, which might have been demoralizing because then it was 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. And then really after the first quarter, it was pretty rough for Idaho throughout the game. I know of all our not out of conference games, this was probably the one that I was most happy to see end because I didn't see like a ton to take away from this, but also the rain mattered for Idaho, particularly for playing CJ Jordan. Did get to see Hayden Hatton. Hayden Hatton didn't play this game. Hayden Hatton played it against Indiana, so take that back. It was a rough day. That's how bad it was. I'm naming the wrong wide receiver. But yeah, I mean, Dallas will probably have some more on this. Alex, you're going to have some too. Really a rough way to close the non-conference season. I never thought I'd be happy to have a bye week, first week of conference play, but doesn't seem that bad right now, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going to end up defaulting to you two mostly on this. I tried to watch some of it. I caught some of the first half. It was right at the end of that West Virginia game, which I was at work and I was able to watch some of it on my phone on a very much legal way. But yes, Chris, Pac-12, having to go with Pac-12 Oregon sucks. The Pac-12 network sucks. But I think we have hope in this. This is where my take's going to go. We have hope for the Pac-12 network because the new current commissioner of the Pac-12 knows the Pac-12 network sucks and knows Larry Scott sucked. So I think you'll probably end up seeing some better distribution from that eventually, Chris. That's my only hope for the Pac-12. But anyway, we showed some good moments here. Penalties killed us a lot in the first half. We're not catching a 4th down pass, things like that. Just little miscues. Maybe shooting ourselves in the foot again. We probably should have scored some points here. Like I think it wasn't unreasonable for us not to think we should have scored. We probably should have. The rain, like Brian said, definitely played a factor, and I think that's why you saw Coach Petrino adjust to maybe playing CJ more and said, "Hey, we're going to run the ball and we're going to use our dual threat aspect, and we don't want to mess around with the wet weather." Because again, like I've pointed out last week, rain would play a factor in this game. We have barely played in the rain in the last 5 years. We've gotten pretty blessed with that. So, but we need to get used to it because we still do play in the Big Sky and who knows what's going to come up. I'm just happy this is over. We don't have to think about this the rest of the year. We get a whole week to recover. And next year we get to ride off into the sunset and go play UC Davis, who is ranked in the top 10 in the FCS right now. So that's fun. And start saying goodbye to FBS paychecks because next year Indiana's our last one, folks, and that $1.2 million is going to taste so sweet.
Yeah, as a reference,
I think it's 1.3 next year. I think it went up 100,000.
Oh, well, great, because I thought it was 2.3 over 2 years, so I'll take 2.4 over 2 years.
Yeah, I think it was 1.2, then 1.3 next year.
So no, Dallas will jump in just as a quick stat reference, guys. CJ Jordan spent most time at quarterback, 7 of 16 for 37 yards. That's not a typo. It was just rough. The game was not as bad as 37 yards looks on paper, but when I say it was rough, I mean it was rough. We'll get in details later. Jordan also, but CJ Jordan led us in rushing yards, 71 yards on 14 attempts. Did look pretty effective running the ball. Some of those were broken plays. Some of those were not broken plays. Some of those were draws exactly scripted up. But Dallas, we were communicating through this game. First quarter seemed promising, and then how'd it go for you?
I mean, after that, it was disaster. I'm going to echo a lot of the things that you and Boatman have already said. The rain was obviously a huge factor. Once it started coming down, it didn't look like Idaho really knew how to handle it. And obviously with 7 of 16 from CJ, that's what happens when you're throwing in the rain for the first time in a long time. But it's tough. Indiana, I thought, was a very good team, and it was no shame that we looked like we didn't belong there. Indiana is 1-2 on the season. Idaho's their only win, but their 2 losses are to 2 teams currently ranked in the top 10. So in the top 10 of the FBS, that is. So take that with a grain of salt when you look at it. We're like, Indiana was only 1-2. That's why. Oregon State, I honestly thought we were going to come into this and it was going to be at least a little bit more competitive. We were going to see Idaho at least score. We were going to see glimpses of success and things that made me feel good about this team, but I didn't see anything to make me feel better. Honestly, we'll talk about quarterbacks, so I don't want to get into that too much, but honestly, I thought the play calling was pretty bad. It's 2nd and long, and we're running the ball right up the middle against the Pac-12 school. Like that's not going to do anything. Maybe that's going to work in Big Sky play, but what are we learning when we're trying to just stuff the ball up the gut on 2nd and 9 and 2nd and 10? That's not going to do anything for us. So that was frustrating to see. I thought CJ got bailed out by some penalties, 3 or 4 15-yarders, if I remember correctly. So that was really what kept drives going, were penalties from Oregon State, and you can't sit and think that that's going to continue in Big Sky play, that you're going to get bailed out of drives. I just didn't see drives being sustained. The defense was getting destroyed by Oregon State's passing attack. I mean, you can see how many different receivers they had catch passes there. It's like the old air raid from Leach, where if you don't have 8 receivers you can comfortably play, you don't have enough. I didn't see anything in this game that made me feel confident about this team. And that's what stinks. We all kind of looked at this as Oregon State's not Indiana. We might get some positive takeaways. I had nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Hey, shout out real quick to a couple Idaho legends, Jonathan Smith and Brian Lindgren, calling the offenses on the other side of the ball for the Beavers. Brian Lindgren, of course, one of Idaho's more successful quarterbacks at the FBS level in the last 25 years. And Jonathan Smith, of course, was the quarterbacks coach during our bowl win in 2009. And Dallas, I'm just going to kind of piggyback here real quick. Yeah, I think it is more concerning. We didn't show up better against Oregon State. Like, don't let Indiana was a good team last year, right? I'm trying to compare some apples to oranges here potentially, but Indiana was a great team last year. Went 6-2, I believe. Played Ohio State tough in their conference play. Indiana isn't a great team this year relatively to last year. Like Michael Penix Jr., their quarterback, or Michael Penix Jr., like as Dallas likes to say, hasn't been great. Even against us, their offense wasn't that spectacular, blowing you out of the water. But still, if I was to see a Vegas line, I would still say Indiana versus Oregon State. Indiana is probably favored by around a touchdown. So put that into your minds of where do you think Indiana is versus Oregon State? We should have showed up better versus Oregon State than we did Indiana. We eliminated those special teams plays that we had talked about that was really hammering home about from Indiana, right? So I think it's more concerning that we didn't end up putting up points or keeping this game slightly closer. But Oregon State isn't a terrible Pac-12 team. I can probably name 3 teams worse than the Pac-12, but they're going to probably push for a bowl game this year. So not terrible, but they're not the cream of the crop.
Pac-12 looks pretty bad. They could be the second best team in the Pac-12 by the end of the season.
Yeah, Oregon State's no Arizona. We know that.
No, they're not Arizona, and they're not Washington State.
Apparently.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see. It'd be the most Washington thing of all time to probably kill Cal this weekend and just be terrible. A lot of the stats love Washington anyway. But yeah, I mean, Oregon State could finish 3rd in the Pac-12 North. They could finish 5th. Like, they're not a terrible team, guys. Like, but I still think Indiana would probably be a touchdown favorite in a neutral field.
All right. I like I said, 0 takes. I caught 0 of this game because Pac-12 Oregon. It turns out if you're not in Oregon to have, I think I flashed across the screen, have an illegal streaming service at your office. Did I see that correctly from one of our listeners, for our watchers, I guess, for those listening. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get. I did try, but everybody in Utah is like, hey, do you know anywhere I can get Pac-12 Oregon? They're like, no, we get Pac-12 like Mountain or whatever the heck Colorado and Utah are. But so yeah, I got nothing. So I will pass the tap to Mr. Marceau for our next tap.
No, I really want to just double down and talk about ESPN Plus for you, Chris, but we'll jump to the next.
I did hear, were there some hiccups at a couple games this weekend? I heard Montana State might have had some troubles, and then somebody else.
It happens, but I think that's more of a feed to the system kind of thing. I think that's just going to happen when you broadcast.
No,
like,
actually,
I don't know, 70 games on ESPN Plus.
I take that back. I did get to watch Western Illinois versus Eastern Washington. That game was garbage.
The Western Illinois announcers.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, and Western Illinois has a very nice high school facility, and I mean that in comparison to Eastern Washington. But no, the reason I was bringing that up, Chris, is I actually just love how ESPN Plus is, because now I bounce between Big Sky games all the time because it's easy and it archives and just anyway.
And
it is not important at all. But Chris, you've talked about a bunch, so let's throw it back to you, ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and I will say I learned a little life hack here recently that I don't know if we've shared. I don't have Apple products, but if you
That's what to say. Apple TV,
you can throw 4 of them up at one time.
Yep, I do this. I did that all last year. I was at home on Saturdays, right, in Seattle watching ball. Pull out the iPad, the laptop, and then the Apple TV, and you can get like 6 games going at once. Get the Apple TV. It's worth it just for the 4 split screen on.
Meanwhile, Chris
on
is here. Phone, his Surface Pro 3, his 2 monitors, and then I have a TV right here, and this is Chris. So I'm getting an Apple TV to save my neck when I'm 80.
Well, wait, we have a follow-up question for Boatman. I'm not trying to annihilate our discussion thread that we planned, but
that's fine.
Alex, how many I guess I need you to explain what's the benefit of having West Virginia up 6 different times instead of just once?
I mean, I got to keep track of my dogs. I got to see Boise State lose. See Washington State lose as well after everyone thought they were going to be crowned champions of beating USC, even though USC's plane wants to fail.
That?
5 blocks from my house. Wazoo fans thought they were amazing after they're up on USC. Let's
think they would.
Let's be real, Chris. Come on now. We all know enough Wazoo fans. But yeah, I mean, Brian, back when I was not working in college athletics, I had to like a little action here and there. So it was beneficial at the time, especially when you're 20 games deep on a Saturday.
No, dude, you're right. And in terms of WSU, they're just not ready to take their shot, are they? But jumping back to the second half, guys, so we can wrap up Oregon State. We did get to see, I referenced it earlier, we did get to see the CJ Jordan game. Stat-wise, it was not great. I can tell you, what he looked like, it was a young guy who needs to play more. There are the mistakes you'd expect from a young guy. And if Vandal fans have to remember, look, when Nate Enderle was a freshman, Nate Enderle was drafted. He was not great. Matt Linehan's freshman, not great. So, I mean, if we're going to have a freshman play a lot against good teams, we're going to have some rough nights. But
passing yard leader at Montana for a single game, Chad Chalich, first game, not great.
Exactly. This is just the reality of being a young quarterback and playing good teams. Not everyone's Southern Utah. By the way, mercifully, not everyone's Southern Utah. But Alex, we all had this discussion 1,000 times. But this This is a question I'm not asking right now for the Paul Petrino theory, because we all are essentially united in that a lot of us figured Beaudry's probably going to be the guy who wins the job based off of who Paul is, being conservative. But this is a question for you about who in your mind won the job, because I'm pretty sure people have a strong opinion right now about who won.
Yeah, I'm going to say Beaudry's won the job in my mind. And here's why. Beaudry in the spring season was completing 59% of his passes. In 3 games this year, against 2 Power 5 opponents, he's completing 65% of his passes. He's gotten more efficient. CJ, meanwhile, I mean, no knock on the kid. Like, he's completing between the spring season last year and this season, he's completing 51% of his passes. You know, he brings that more dynamic aspect of being able to run the ball, yes. But against a lesser opponent, when we played, who are they? Simon Fraser. Beaudry ran the ball plenty too. Like, he is not unathletic. He's not CJ athletic, but he has shown us that against a lesser opponent, he will try to run the ball as well. So he's not as dynamic. I just don't know if CJ is fully ready yet, and I don't know if it's fair to the kid of saying trial by fire here, go have fun. There are still expectations for this team, even if, you know, we get rated 11th in the Big Sky Power Rankings poll, right, or things like that. Like, there's still a semi expectation is we need to win. Like, Coach Petrino needs to win for not for his job, but essentially, like, we've talked about his contract situation, guys. He's getting here near the end. We're getting in the dead spot of you renew or you
30,
don't.
2022.
2023, he had that extension.
No, he had a stupid rollover.
But still, so this is the last year you generally roll into coach's contracts for recruiting reasons, right? CJ is dynamic, but I think Beaudry has shown that he's gotten more efficient. He didn't take a lot of sacks versus Indiana. I don't know what he's done wrong to lose this job if he was already coming into it as the winner from the spring. I think it's going to be, and here's my final take on this. It's Beaudry's won the job, but guess what? CJ is going to be right there. And if you start sucking it all or it starts going bad, I won't hesitate to put CJ in. And I think that's where we're going to be at. It's CJ, still be ready. You didn't lose this job. It's get better, keep preparing, because you might end up playing. I think Paul might pull the trigger on it if things ever get bad, right? Or if Beaudry's struggling. But I think Beaudry has won this job. I don't see a reason why he hasn't.
I guess I'm up next. Is that the way? Yeah, right. Boat, me, Chris, Brian. Yeah. So I would have to say the same thing. I think Beaudry won the job much for the same things that Boatman just said. Beaudry, even if you just look at the numbers, Beaudry, obviously 65% of the passes, didn't have an interception, played well against big 5 opponents. Like there are Big 10 and Pac-12 opponents. The Power 5, he actually looked pretty good. I personally would put CJ in and let him grow, because I think a lot of what we saw was growing pains. I think he needs time. I think you could accelerate that development if you stick him in now and let him go. You also could ruin him if you put him out there and he's getting hit a bunch. He's completing 40% of his passes. Petrino being who he is, I am expecting Beaudry is going to win this job. I'm parroting much of the same things Boatman said here, but I would not be surprised to see CJ Jordan even maybe 3 games in, because we are looking at, you're not going to have a coach on his dead year of his contract. He's looking to find a way to keep this job. I'm assuming he's not looking for this contract to be up and go somewhere else. He's looking to keep being the coach of the Idaho Vandals. If Beaudry is struggling or the team is struggling, how do you pitch that in the future? As we're year 3 in the Big Sky, have 0 success to show for it. If this year starts off the way that we're all kind of predicting that it's not going to be great, how do you pitch the future is going to be better? You pitch that with CJ Jordan. So I think Beaudry is going to win it, but I do think there's a short leash there. If this team starts to struggle, I think we start seeing CJ play a whole lot more.
I just can't believe, Dallas, you don't think that USC is going to be calling for Paul and or Bobby. So my take on this, right? I didn't get to see the CJ game. So for me, this is like kind of eerie. You know, I feel like when I talked to these gentlemen here last Tuesday, everybody was on the Jordan wagon, and now everyone's on the Beaudry bus. So I don't know what I missed, right? Because Pac-12 Oregon sucks, but I feel weird because I'm the guy who was the most defending of Beaudry for a while, and I still think it's CJ Jordan because one, we're probably going to see them both anyways. Unfortunately, I don't think any of this is going to be over. I think we're going to continue to see, we might have a not quarterback competition for like 2 weeks. And I think we're going to ride this out pretty much the rest of the year. But I agree kind of with what Dallas said. Like at this point, let him grow. I don't know. Like looking at the stats, I get that Beaudry did look good in his last 2 games. And I didn't get to see what happened against Oregon State. But it's just hard for me. Like I said, I think we know what this team is going to be with Beaudry at the helm. And I think if we want a higher ceiling, CJ Jordan provides the possibility of a higher ceiling. So I'm willing to risk it to go. And like I said, Paul might be in a contract year in terms of like next year is the year he has to negotiate a new contract if he doesn't get fired with 1 year left. I think he's got to kind of win now, and I'm not sure 4 wins is going to do it for him. So there might be a little fire, I guess, in that case to make sure whoever can win more now. I'm not convinced Beaudry is going to get any more wins than CJ Jordan, so you might as well go with CJ. Brian?
One, Chris, I just got to highlight. It feels like whatever happened, that whatever percentage of the Martin Sunshine that you have just died at Weber State. So that's okay. No, dude, I'm with you in that. I think CJ Jordan's a much more exciting prospect, and I think when all of us see him play, we see the arm strength, we see the mobility, we see all the boxes checked of a guy who could be very good. But in terms of performing, Beaudry was more steady through his 2 starts. I mean, Beaudry threw more passes for more passing yards in 2 series against Oregon State than CJ did through the rest of the game. So, like Alex said, I don't exactly see what Mike did to lose the job. He's going to have to keep completing passes at 66, 67% because he just is not accurate enough deep. So he has to complete a ton of those short passes, which if we're talking about CJ, Chris, we're not worried about that because CJ can more accurately stretch the field. But I guess I think it'll be the least surprising thing in the world when we see Mike Beaudry take the first team snaps or go out as a starter against UC Davis. But I expect the clock will be ticking because really, if Paul's understanding this is win now, I completely get him throwing Mike in. I don't think it's the right long-term call necessarily, but I also think if the season goes off the rails, meaning like if we lose to Portland State homecoming, we better see CJ out there pretty quick because if we don't win early in the Big Sky, our season's done.
I mean, a fair take. Yeah, I think you maybe ride with Beaudry, see if we can pull off something against UC Davis and Portland State. And if you don't, and the season's basically a scrap heap, I think you're right. That's where you move on to the future. And sorry, Mike, unfortunate timing, but we got to look out for 2022 Idaho and 2022 Idaho. Unless Giovanni McCoy takes a huge step forward, it's going to be CJ Jordan.
I mean, I'll wrap this up here. I think we're giving Beaudry a bad rap here. I mean, so far through 3 games, and pretty much similar amount of game times he played last season, he's taken in my opinion, a decent step forward. You increase your completion percentage up to the mid-60s, and you don't throw any picks against Oregon State and Indiana while seeing significant number of reps. That's great efficiency. If we see that Mike Beaudry at the start of Big Sky play, like Vandal fans feel pretty okay with where we're at because that's all you can really ask for is a more efficient quarterback who takes care of the ball and completes more of his passes. Yes, it's not as exciting. He might not have his higher completion percentage downfield. We question some of his decision making sometime. But I'm saying from a stats aspect alone, that's not bad. That's a good improvement from 3-4 games in the spring to now to up your completion percentage from the high 50s to the mid 60s. When you get to this high level of quarterback play, that's like massive gains, right? Like that's not like you're going like that's only 6%. It's like that means a lot over the course of a game. So if I'm just saying if he does see this high completion percentage, keeps not throwing interceptions, we're probably in an okay spot. and I would expect to keep seeing him until otherwise. And it's going to be CJ, be ready, prepare like you're going to play, because I think it's going to be a short leash. So hopefully that makes Beaudry prepare even harder and play even better.
Sorry, I've got double dip too, and this just because I interviewed Paul. Now you can also understand going with Beaudry if you truly think, hey, he just need to improve his accuracy a bit, and he did. But then against Big Sky play, Paul said the new receivers are faster than we'd had previously, and he thinks that will matter in Beaudry's short passes turning into long plays, yards after the catch. So, I mean, Alex, you are right. If Paul may be right that what we need was more speed at receiver, and we got it. And now with Beaudry, he has to stay that accurate as he was in the OOC. But, I mean, you're correct. If he is that accurate through the season, and if Therese Trainer, Mekhi Stevenson are as good as Paul thinks they can be, that could be enough to push Idaho over that step that we couldn't take during the spring.
Quick question.
Step, I mean, like, you're winning 5, 6 games, right? You're not like you're maybe competing in some games you might not have. Like, no, we're not talking about like a 9-win team. We're talking about you're trying to push for that 500 mark.
I got a queso dip. It's in a question dip. Since I missed this game, did Hayden Hatton play against Oregon State? Okay. Because I can say I just closed the stats, but I did notice, I was going to say, is this maybe more of a CJ Jordan likes Therese Trainer versus Beaudry likes Hayden Hatton kind of thing? But if Hayden Hatton didn't play, then that's not a trend. I just noticed no catches, and Trainer seemed to have the majority of the targets, which was also kind of the case, I believe, when CJ played against Simon Fraser. He seemed to lean more towards Trainer as well. So thought I was picking up on something, but nope, that's what you get when you don't watch a game. You make stupid takes that are immediately shut down. Boatman, I think it's your tap.
Yeah, I think we can kind of wrap up Big Sky out of conference play here for us on the pod. And what a non-conference it's been for the Big Sky. We've seen multiple FBS wins, including Northern Arizona just beating Arizona, which we did not see that coming whatsoever. It's kind of want to hear from you guys. How would you grade the Big Sky overall and how each team performed in their out-of-conference schedule? Dallas?
So I'll start with Idaho because that feels like that kind of just goes with what we're going with. I would have to give Idaho a D. I don't think we saw much out of the Vandals. We saw the pasting of Simon Fraser 68-0. Simon Fraser looked like a glorified high school team. No offense to our lovely listeners from the former clan. And then we got beat to shit by Idaho or by Indiana and Oregon State. I don't think there's a whole lot we learned. I wanted to see more. I would have liked to have seen some sort of competition out of Idaho against Indiana or Oregon State. We saw plenty of FCS upsets. Not that I think Idaho has the talent or more so the coaching to beat Indiana or Oregon State. I would have liked to have seen us be a little bit more competitive. So I'd give a D.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to stick with Idaho here first. We'll probably just go around and do everybody else second. For me, I'm just going to throw some numbers at people that hopefully can just settle everybody the flip down. 56-6 and 56-6. Those are our 2016 out-of-conference scores against Washington and Washington State. We went on to have our best season we've had in a long, long time in 2016. Just because we got blown out by teams we were supposed to lose to does not mean we can't turn it around. Now, that game or that season was very turned around, pivoted on that overtime win down in Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas. That's kind of what we have coming up here with UC Davis. That game is going to be very pivotal to where we're going. And yes, it is going to be against, depending on their result against Weber State this week, still probably a top 15, if not a top 6 team in the FCS. So everyone just needs to kind of pump the brakes. We're exactly where every single one of us had us at 1-2 going into this with a 0-3 start. I saw some, or basically 0-0 going into our playoff resume. That's where I just I saw a bunch of people flipping out, oh, Petrino call it practice. I'm we all said the same thing when the season started. Yeah, it sucks we got our butts kicked 2 weeks in a row, and we have a bye week this week, so it's going to be 3 weeks of just butt kicking taste, and we might have a butt kicking on deck from UC Davis. But just breathe a little bit, everybody. Like, our 2016 season started almost identical to this. Like, we'll be fine. Maybe, probably. But, like, let's not take anything away from these first 3 games because there's nothing to take away.
So I'm going to destroy the initial rotation we had of Dallas gives a D, Chris gives a C. Notice those letter matching. Brian's not going to give a B. Although Boat, will he go with the B for Boat or A for Alex? We'll see. I'm going to give us an incomplete because I'm just saying now in comparison to other teams, we have no FCS games to really gauge us. Chris is right. We did it in a little bit more dramatic fashion than we all wish, but we killed the team we should have killed. We got killed by the teams that are better than us based off being FBS. I don't think we learned a lot from Idaho other than I think, you can probably presume at this point you shouldn't think we're as good as someone like Montana, but that's about it because we don't have enough evidence. That's what an incomplete is to me. So might be a pass the buck, but my way of trying to calm us down is saying, look, like, again, the tenor sucks because it's awful to score 0 points. But I just don't know if we've learned anything about this Idaho team yet to differentiate us from Portland State or Sacramento State or Northern Colorado or, hey, Idaho State, who we'll talk about, who had a not so great OOC schedule as well. But for us, it was kind of it was a structure because we eventually will get to play some of those awful FCS teams to pad those wins for the playoffs, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'll just go with a C. I mean, we passed. We didn't see big injuries. Guys got reps. We all kind of have an idea of who we think is probably going to be the quarterback. So what we got out of it is what we got out of it. We got some money, got that green check. Hopefully Indiana and Oregon State's checks cash, and that's all that really matters. But I will say before we wrap up Idaho out of conference, guys, this is the last time we have a D2 team on our schedule as of right now. Okay, so Vandal fans, our schedule kind of gets a little more simple. We're going to start seeing a formula next year is a little different. We still have to play 2 Power 5 in Indiana and Washington State, but you're going to start seeing a formula of a team like Drake or Dixie State, so an out of conference FCS, a Group of 5 team in the Mountain West, and then
San Jose.
Yeah, and then a Pac-12 team. So you're going to start seeing, which is all what we've pretty much been clamoring for pretty much, is an out-of-conference FCS. We'd love to see 2 out-of-conference FCSs, but we know that's not going to happen. We still have to get some money here. But, I mean, last time we played an out-of-conference Mountain West team, it got pretty close. So not saying it's going to happen, but it's a hell of a lot better than playing, Indiana, who was ranked 33rd in the country when we played them. So just wanted to wrap up my Idaho out-of-conference take with that.
I've got 2 soapbox preaches real quick for Boatman's thing. One, if you want to see more FCS games, like he said, we got to make money. So when Drake comes to town next year, go to that game in the Dome. Because if we're selling those games out, they're going to schedule them, and we won't need these money games as much. So just keep that in mind when, like, you're bagging on stuff. Is like, we've got to make up the lost revenue and ticket revenue for us to schedule 2 FCS games. So just keep that in mind. And the second thing is, like, people have to remember, we get crapped on by a lot of the Big Sky for this and our own fan base. Our schedule is a result of us making the drop. We lost games because teams had already scheduled us. Now they had 2 FCS teams on the books. And which FCS team are you more likely to take? The one you just agreed to pay $1 million plus, or the team you're paying $300,000? So a lot of those teams dropped us. And so we had to scramble to fill. And that's how we have like D2 games. So, like, just keep that in mind. It's not like we wanted – this is how our grand scheme to go to the FCS was. It was not perfect. It never was going to be perfect. It looks like we've got it figured out going forward. Now, just don't screw it up, athletic department, after I gave you a raving review, please.
I mean, so technically we still count as an FBS game for the team for Indiana because we were scheduled as an FBS team when they signed that contract. And that's an internal thing that the NCAA gave them the waiver on and their own conference because their conference for a while is not allowing FCS games. But we count as an FCS game for Oregon State, for Washington State, because we schedule them as an FCS team. Gets a little weird with tricky in contracts. Revenue is not that great. Even if we host Drake, we actually lose money every time we have a home game because you got to pay staff. Donate more. That's more beneficial because there's no cost associated with it. So go to games, donate more, and that helps with some money there. But yeah, it's good to finally just see. And this stemmed from and this stemmed from
Saban.
Well, no, it stemmed from, we always, our athletic department would love to schedule out of conference FCS games, but when we had to play 2 body bag games, Petrino was saying, guys, like, I need a win. I need a game where I can know I'm going to win and also play guys and see some things and not have to worry about it just going crazy. And that's fair. And that was just a statement of the drop down. But hey, looks like we're past that. We're getting some stability out of conference. Happy to move on to whoever's next.
I think we just need, I'm just going to go next. And we know what the order is after that.
Oh, I thought it was Dallas. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're off the tracks again.
Here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, dude, we're off the train. You know what? I'm going to jump in, grade a team that I think is at least kind of interesting for us. Idaho State. Idaho State plays Nevada, FBS good, and North Dakota, FCS good, and gets destroyed both games to the point that I was wondering, was Idaho State looking frisky in the spring? Is that fool's gold because they happen to get to play, teams like Northern Arizona, Southern Utah more? And I'm going to give Idaho State a D. Want to give them an F, but they played 2 good teams. But I have no faith. Coulter talked about on our show a while back. We're always going to bring this up. What matters is not necessarily that teams win, but that your fans believe you're going to win. And after this OOC, I've got no faith in Idaho State.
Yeah, I agree there. No, they're not playing a Pac-12 and a Big 12, a Big 10 team. They're playing a Mountain West and a Missouri Valley team who we saw in conference play a couple years ago.
Dallas?
So I'm going to do a little bit of live producing here. Do we want to give a grade for every single team? Do we all want to pick our own teams? How are we feeling tonight?
I feel like we're already at 44 minutes. If we grade every team, it might be a long time.
Each person, let's just go down the list. I'll go next after Brian. I'll just pick a team and grade them.
Perfect.
I'm gonna go with. Oh man, who do I want to pick? Let's go with Portland State. I'm gonna give them the top 5 team in the FCS or in the Big Sky. Sorry, I'm gonna give them I'm gonna give them a D. They did not look good versus a D2 team, and they lost their 2 FBS games, but they did not look good versus Western Oregon. And guys, real quick, Bruce Barnum, did you hear how many beers he's on the hook for?
$14,000 worth.
Over 2,000 beers. So props to the Vikings getting out there and breaking boot. That's like a third of his paycheck. So he needs to be careful.
Yeah, I did like the Portland State Athletic Department put out he's good for his word with a receipt, but you could tell it's totally a Photoshop doctored receipt. Like it's a graphic. And I'm like, I'm still not convinced that wasn't just the athletic department saying they'd buy it. And if we throw Bruce Barnum behind it, he didn't buy that. There's no way until I actually see Bruce Barnum holding a receipt with his name on a card. That was totally a Portland State thing, but great marketing. It worked.
All right. Who's next? Who's picking a team? There we go.
I'll go next. I'm going to bank the easiest one I can think of. I'm going to go with UC Davis, our upcoming opponents. I would give this an A+. They beat an FBS team on the road, and they're undefeated. If they'd lost to San Diego or Dixie State, we'd be having a different conversation. But
a good FBS team too. That's not a bad FBS team.
Exactly. They pounded the 2 crappy FCS schools that they were expected to pound, and then they went on the road and beat a very good Group of 5 team. A+, even. Let's go A+.
Well, I was going to take UC Davis, so you totally stole mine.
Chris, I know who you have to go with. You were on them all year, but that's out of conference win, so you just got to take them and get on your soapbox.
Oh, Montana? No, I'm not. Nope, I've got a different one. I'm giving an F to Northern Arizona. I know this is weird. You're like, what? They just beat Arizona. But they also got their tushes kicked by South Dakota, who ain't going to make the playoffs this year, or is a miracle to make the playoffs this year. They got their butt kicked by Sam Houston. No shame in that. They got to host them. That's kind of good. And then you go and you beat Arizona. As far as the playoff resume goes, after out of conference and beating a Power 5 opponent, they are still negative 0.5. Because how we've been told is FBS wins count as 1.5. and losses count as 0, same as how D2 wins count as 0. But those 2 FCS losses, not being able to take care of business against the FCS, but then pulling off a miracle upset against the Power 5, you're still net negative in terms of the playoff committee, which is just like take care of business against South Dakota State or South Dakota, a game they probably should have been in. And this is a whole different story. You know, they're plus 2.5 instead, or I guess 1.5. But yeah, pulling off the win against Arizona probably feels good. I doubt it does anything for recruiting. And at the end of the day, they're still in a terrible spot to make the playoffs. They basically have an 0-2 playoff resume.
I'm going to go with one more team that I'm curious what everyone else says. We all know Montana is an A. Like they went 3-0. They have 3 playoff wins. Great for them. We all know Eastern and Montana State both picked up 2 playoff wins, so they're probably pretty high. Weber State, guys, how are we feeling about the Wildcats? Some of us here I did not pick Weber State to win the league in my preseason poll. And Weber State is down a starting quarterback. They picked up a single win against Dixie. Looked pretty dang bad against James Madison, who is good, but Weber thinks they're good too. I'm gonna call this a D+, guys. I think this went about as rough for Weber as it possibly could.
Cosign.
I feel like this is one of those where they're exactly where I kind of thought they were. I mean, yeah, I thought maybe they could beat James Madison, but like it's kind of like Idaho. At the end of the day, they weren't beating Utah. They actually looked competitive in it for a while, which also doesn't count for anything. Just like how if you look at the James Madison score, that score is not reflective of how bad they got their butts kicked. So like it goes both ways, and then they beat an in-state rival in Dixie. Like I agree. D+ might be a little harsh. But yeah, I mean, at worst it's a C because they're right where we thought they would be. They probably aren't better than James Madison, especially without their quarterback. I tell you what, after that game, I sure as heck don't want to see UC Davis on my schedule. Like, yeah, it's not a good time to be a Wildcat, but out of conference schedule, C, they're right where most people would have predicted them, I think.
Well, if we're all throwing letters on this, I'm going to go C- just to split the gap.
Okay. I'm going to pick a team here, and it's kind of an interesting take. Eastern, I'm actually going to give them a C+, and here's why, right? You're going to see that win over UNLV. It's an FBS team. UNLV is a dog crap team. Like, they are Sagarin rankings, they are like a bottom 5 to 10 FBS team. Don't get that twisted. In reality, Eastern probably should have handled them better in terms like they almost blew that game. That's not great composure there from the Eagles at the very end. They took care of Central Washington, not surprised. Then that Western Illinois game, at one point I checked the score, it was 62-26. I look back, it's 62-56. I go, what the F happened? Western Illinois is not a good football team, guys. Like, these guys would finish near the bottom in the Big Sky every year. We made a joke about them last week. They're the Big Sky's doormat in Missouri Valley play. Like, you know, on paper, they're going to look 3-0, but it's going, they should have handled UNLV better. They almost gave it up. They almost couged it versus Western Illinois. I mean, come on. Like, that's not clean football and maybe a little worrisome. You can't afford to make those mistakes against Montana on ESPN2 on a Saturday night on primetime on ESPN2. You can't do that. So maybe a little more worrisome, I think, for the Eagles than people might realize. So I'm giving them a C+. Like, they still went 3-0, but, you know, I see Patrick saying we took our foot off the gas. You can't do that. You take your foot off the gas, you lose a game. It'll happen. It'll come back to bite you in the butt. I've seen it happen plenty of times. Like, on kind of my fiery take on Eastern.
Yeah, Eastern was up 56-21 at halftime and almost lost. Like in our group chat, we thought Eastern was going to lose this game. Western Illinois is not good. UNLV is not good. I'm still going to give them a B because they picked up 2 wins for the playoffs. They didn't really move where I think they are necessarily in the conference. But if I'm a fan, I understand being excited about this team. And Eric Barrier looked unbelievable that first half against Western Illinois.
I think it's going to be guys. It's going to be a live or die by Eric Barrier, like watching a Ravens game with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I'll give Eastern a quick little like B on this. I mean, they won their game. They got to like be the opener for Allegiant Stadium for UNLV with fans. That's pretty cool. Central Washington isn't their fault. That's Jacksonville State's fault. They pulled out of that game, which I'm sorry, Eastern fans, like, quit crapping on Jacksonville State. The fact that they left you to play Florida State and then beat Florida State for that bigger payday, I'm sorry. Jacksonville
They're the
State
real winners.
They made the right decision. I know it sucks for you, but JSU made the right decision. So I'm not going to punish you for Central Washington. That is a thrown together with months to do it game. That you get it. And then Western Illinois, yeah, they suck. I think Central Washington would have beat them. Like, Central Washington's probably a better win than Western Illinois, even though it doesn't count as one. But yeah, Western Illinois is bad. Good. I mean, B. Like, it sucks you had them. They probably should have beat UNLV better. You kind of stumbled against Western Illinois, but at the end of the day, stats are the stats. That's WWW. You're 3-0 and you're logged onto the internet.
All right, we're going to pull the plug on this, and let's move ahead. We're at the 50-minute mark, guys. Let's move ahead to watching the TV. But first, Chris, do you have some words for our listeners?
Whoa, real quick. Are we doing some conference realignment or no?
No, this is where Alex does his ad read of West Virginia Alumni Association.
You can give me a call, 304-293-8632.
Huge River Expedition. If you're looking for a great all-inclusive week-long vacation, don't look past your backyard. Venture in the largest protected wilderness in the continental United States, located right here in the great state of Idaho. Enjoy a multi-day trip down the Middle Fork of the Salmon, the main Salmon River of no return, the Salmon River Canyons, or the Subway. You can even check out special trips like the one to see the Perseid meteor shower. Camp on pristine beaches, run amazing whitewater, hike scenic trails, spot wildlife, and soak in beautiful natural hot springs. Take in history all along the river's edge. You also got to fish some of the most remote stretches of river in the country. You bring your clothes and let HRE handle the rest. Huge River Expeditions has been Vandal-owned and operated since 1976, ready to take you on the vacation of a lifetime. Find out what it's like to grab a paddle, catch dinner, and ride the bull all throughout the Gem State. Call them now at 800-262-1882 or check them out at hughesriver.com. Watching the TV, aka Around the Big Sky. Standings, because that's what's most important. I know everyone's wondering. Holy smokes, is this added right? I think there's some addition errors here. There's no way I went 7-4.
This is added right.
Apparently, I went 7-4 last week. Shoot, 26-8 for me, putting me in last place. 26-8, putting me in last place. Dallas went 9-2. Putting him at 28-6, which ties in with Boatman, who went 9-2 last week for 28-6. And Brian cushions his lead to 2 games, 9-2 last week. And this is kind of like, it gets really tight here. I mean, at this point, Brian, with a 2-game lead going into the conference play, should not relinquish this. But we'll see. All right, I'll start, and then we'll go Dallas, Boatman, Brian. Cal Poly at Montana.
Yeah, Montana.
Bowman.
I blanked. Yeah, Montana. Big, yeah.
Montana's going to walk all over Cal Poly. The thing I'm hoping for is, fingers crossed, the win is rough enough that Bo Baldwin may be looking for a new job soon.
Next up, Sac State at Idaho State. Dallas, preemptive. Sac State sucks. Idaho State.
Wow, I'm going Sac State.
Oh, okay, Chris, with so much conviction there. Sac State's actually only ranked behind UNLV by 1 in the Sagarin rankings. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Sac State. They're still better than Idaho State.
Dude, they struggled with Dixie, who we just saw 2 teams in the conference absolutely bushwhack.
Well,
North Dakota made Idaho State look a D2 team.
North Dakota is a top 25 team in the FCS. They're top 10 in some people's polls.
Okay, so here's the thing with Sac State. I'm picking Sac State to win this game. Sacramento State struggled to score initially. They looked pretty good against Cal. I mean, they hung 30 points on a Pac-12 team, so that's solid. Sac State defensively has looked strong. That was part of why they made the playoffs 2 years ago, is they annihilated teams defensively. I got no faith in Idaho State yet. I already said it, Sac State.
Wow. Next up, Northern Arizona at Northern Colorado. I think this is a rivalry, maybe not, but Northern Colorado, a little bit of a letdown last week, while NAU had a pick-me-up. I think that was a 1-week flop around. I'm picking the Bears.
Yeah, no-co for me.
I don't know. like Sagarin rankings actually puts Northern Arizona ahead of Northern Colorado, and I find that really intriguing.
That's happened when you beat one Power 5 team but lose the 2 FCS teams.
Yeah, but there's a lot more that gets cooked into that than just that win. I'll go Northern Colorado. I'm trying to chase down.
I'm anxious about this because we don't know if Dylan McCaffrey's playing. Connor Mack, I think that was his name. Connor Martin, #R looked pretty bad last week against Lamar. God, I can't pick Northern Arizona. I mean, fool's gold. Northern Colorado wins, even though the long grass at Greeley's gone. It's devastating. I say 6,000 times, but it's gone.
All right, hey, give me Northern Arizona than Dallas. I got Chase. I mean, it's a chaser's bet. I think this is closer to 50-50 game. I got to chase Brian here.
But that's why we put Brian at the end, is so that people can't pick purposely against Brian.
But and also, Chris, you have visited a lot of Big Sky teams. You can tell us about that fearsome environment in Greeley, right?
The long grass of Greeley is the fiercest place, north of Denver and south of Fort Collins. I don't know if that's even geographically solid.
I think it is.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's in the middle of nowhere. It could be. It could not be.
Now, Chris, the next game needs an intro. We're talking about the game of the week, right?
Yeah, I was surprised once again. This one's all. It seems like we might be going all one way. I think somebody is underestimating the mighty Bobcats against the top 5 Portland State Vikings with their absolutely puckered up and loaded fan base, still feeling the 7-day hangover from Bruce Barnum's beer garden. I actually think this game, if there was a team that should be on upset watch this week, because I think Sac State and Idaho State are more similar. I actually think Montana State, because once again, we haven't really seen them. The 2 FCS teams they did play are actually in Sagarin ranked lower than Central Washington. So they are bad teams. I don't think this is proven that McKay can play and that Vegan can coach. This game is going to be more of a telltale there. And we've seen what their rival Montana did to them in the spring. So it's going to be a little this game has a little bit more interest than just your regular first conference game. That being said, I do think the Bobcats win this one. But don't be surprised if it's like a little creepy.
I'm going to say Portland State is already looking ahead to their matchup next week against the mighty Vandals. And Montana State's going to crush them.
Yeah, no look ahead spot here for the Bobcats. They get NoCo at home the following week, so it's not like they have a big team after. And it's not raining in Portland. It's supposed to be 83 and sunny. If it was going to be like a weird, dreary game, like some more factors, I just think it's too clean of a slate. I got to go with the Bobcats.
I'm going with the Bobcats, but Chris is right. Matt McKay is one of the new quarterbacks who didn't play in the spring. He's at 67% completion percentage right now against not very good teams and Wyoming. Montana State wins because they're just too physically imposing, but Chris is right. That is the thing to watch, Matt McKay against a solid to okay FCS team.
Eastern Washington and Southern Utah. I could see this being like exactly a duplicate of Western Illinois and being like 21-21 at the end of the first quarter and then like 67-21 at the end of the game for Eagles, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think Aaron Best is going to make that mistake again of taking the foot off the gas. This is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, Eagles will roll here.
The more interesting question is how many Eagle drops are going to take place in this game.
17.
Yeah, Southern Utah looked relatively frisky against Tarleton State. Justin Miller did look like a good quarterback again. So spring wasn't fool's gold with him, but Eastern is going to win this game.
Next up, I guess probably the game of the week, UC Davis at Weber State. I don't know. I don't have FCS stats pulled in front of me, but I'm going to go guessing number 12 versus number 9. That seems about where these two teams probably sit. This one's tough. Like, if Bronson Barron was playing, I'd take Weber. But I've been high on UC Davis all year. That said, I did think Weber was going to win the conference. But I think I had UC Davis number 2, maybe number 3. I think UC Davis is a better team right now. I'll take the Aggies.
So just pulling up the coaches poll, UC Davis is 10, Weber State is 15. Off the stats perform, UC Davis is 12, Weber is 14. If you look at the Sagarin rankings, UC Davis is 112 and Weber State is 115. So very, very
split hairs
here. Give me Weber State at home in a close one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go Weber State as well, and it's mainly because they can't afford to lose this game. Like if they lose this game, they're not making the playoffs. Because the only reason I'm saying why, Chris, is because they still have to play Eastern and Montana State. Like there's a good chance here that this Weber State team could end up 7-4, 6-5 if they lose this game. And if they end up 7-4, there could be, especially with these new conferences, and there's less at-large bids this year. Like Weber State could be on the outside looking in. They have to win this game, and I think that got to make them play super tight. And UC Davis has nothing to lose. They're feeling riding high, right? They do not think they can be here 3-0. So it could make UC Davis play nothing to lose or feel like play. I mean, I don't know. It can go either way, but I'm going to go Weber State. They need the game more. They're going to go. And I guess Dallas, change my pick back to NoCo. Chris is right. I can't cheat the system. Even though he's done that before a couple weeks ago.
All right. Final ruling. NoCo.
NoCo. Yep.
And then closes out Mr. Lead Dog.
Sorry, I'm just keeping tally of Alex jumping back and forth. But
yeah, it's one of those days.
UC Davis almost beat Weber State in the spring when both teams were spring level full health. Hunter Rodriguez looks much better right now than he did during the spring. Only averaged about 188 yards per game passing in the spring. So far, he's at 253 yards per game. And Weber State looks vulnerable, man. I just think we're at the point where they don't give themselves enough margin for error. And I don't know. Their defense is good. I don't know if it's like top 5 in the FCS good anymore. So I'm going to go Davis, and Weber's in a tailspin that their fans should love because maybe it means Jay Hill stays another year.
Silver lining.
If Whittingham gets fired, he's not staying another year.
He won't get fired. They can't fire Kyle. Chris, they cannot fire Kyle Whittingham. He's like Gary
Patterson. I was just in Utah this weekend, man, and they were not very happy with that San Diego State game.
Yeah, but they're not going to fire Kyle Whittingham. He's like Gary Patterson. They just will never get rid of him no matter how bad they are.
Their quarterback just quit 3 weeks into the season.
Well, technically, he's not the quarterback anymore. He got benched midway through that game for a much better quarterback. So
it's the guys like the guy like runs Utah football. Like he'll never like they can't do any better than Kyle Whittingham. I'm just gonna put that out there. Utah will never do any better than Kyle Whittingham. So
I can't believe I missed the actual point I should have touched on. Weber stays in an identity crisis because how do you replace the GOAT Jake Constantine? They still don't have the answer there.
How have we got this far without mentioning that? I don't know.
It is sad that this is actually 100% a joke. Oh my God, I cut peppers for dinner and rubbing my eye was a terrible idea. We got this far into the show, this little skit we've got going. And yet Brian sadly is correct. They have never actually moved past Jake Constantine. They had more success with the legend Jake Constantine than they've had without the legend Jake Constantine. So maybe when people thought we were crapping on Jake, secretly we were just trying to make sure everyone was aware of his importance and greatness. All right, I think it's time to close the bar. That's it. I guess, we don't have anything else to talk about. Bye week, we hopefully will have an episode of Colby.
Hold on. We've got West Ham Manchester United take 2.
We do.
Which is actually,
I thought
if
that
you're
was
listening to this on podcast services, this game has already happened. This is being recorded on Tuesday, Games Wednesday.
But we're on live. We're on live, so people. It's in the world.
Listeners, I think let's pick it.
EFL Cup. Good luck. Yeah. Godspeed.
Can we go on the record that my strategy of asking Dallas who he wants to win, just picking opposite, absolutely worked?
Yeah, but he's going to still say West Ham every time, except this time I don't know what the right answer is. He's always going to say he wants West Ham, but what the right answer is?
I'm going to double down. I'm going last. Dallas, whoever you want to win, I got the opposite.
What were you trying to say there, Chris?
Are we in these? What round are we in, Boatman?
3.
So these can still be draws, and then you'd play a second game, right? We're not going to PKs.
No. The EFL Cup goes straight to PK. So I'm saying we pick over 9.
Pick a draw.
We can pick a draw because it does classify as a draw. You can pick a draw if it goes to PKs. That's how it gets graded as a bet. I don't make the rules.
Okay, but one team's going to win in PK, so we're not picking draw. Executive decision. We're not picking draws on this show.
I would have picked a draw.
I'm going to go with Manchester United. I think they'll be able to better rotate the squad than West Ham will, and I think West Ham went more for it in the Premier League standings than they're going to in the AFL Cup. So I will go Man U this week.
I guess
Dallas has a Dallas. I can go next, so you can think on it because this is actually a thinker. Mikel Antonio, West Ham striker, did not play the weekend. He was suspended. He is not suspended this weekend. He is their only striker. It definitely hurt them not having him. United is going to rotate their squad heavily. You're not going to see Varane. You might see Harry Maguire because he plays every freaking game possible. United has struggled in games like this. Last year they played West Ham in a FA Cup game, I want to say, and it took literally 80 minutes to break them down, and West Ham sat behind the ball. Like, this game does have PKs written all over it to me, but I'm a Manchester United fan, so I'm gonna have to go with Manchester United. So, but West Ham has a chance here. Like, it's gonna be a weirdly frisky game.
It is going to be a weird game. I think West Ham is notoriously don't really care about the cup games, but this year feels different to me. Maybe it's because this is the year I'm paying attention, but there's been all this chatter about Declan Rice, and is he going to get shipped off somewhere for a huge payday
next year?
God, I hope not.
70 million pounds. I'll pay it right now. I know the guys.
And maybe I'll feel better about it.
Well,
anyways, I think West Ham is going to go for this much more than they have in previous years. You're going to see something close to the first team. I think West Ham has it.
Ooh, unless I'll say, but also West Ham is playing European competition as well, which they normally don't do. So they're not used to midweek games. So David Moyes might just say, "Screw this game. I want to win my Europa League group," and they have a decent chance to win the Europa League this year. This is a weird game.
Yes. Yeah.
Brian?
So Dallas wants West Ham to win, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. Whoever is not West Ham playing, and by the way, viewers, that was my mom who's a huge Tubbs the Club loyalist. She wanted to just sneak in on the recording, say hi. We talked about it, Mom. We got to book you as a guest. You need to know the teams you're talking about. But anyway, that's my family saying hi, guys.
Hey, when you are a Patreon member, like your mother is, you get to make cameo appearances. If you would like to make cameo appearances, patreon.com/Tubbs at the Club. Idea, let us know. I thought of this. Would our current Patreons, we'll contact you in our little private group, be interested in having a Slack channel with us where on game day you can kind of communicate with us about how the game is going? I heard that's something people do, and I think that'd be a cool idea and a benefit. So
like a Tubbs Discord. I'm part of some Patreon Discords.
Yeah, like a Discord, and then like we'll just talk game day stuff, or periodically throughout the week with our loyal patrons. Anyways, I guess that was closing the bar. Support us on patreon.com. It really means a lot. We're trying to get some big things going for you. You probably notice our website's under a little bit of a remodel, but like a lot of remodels, sometimes you rip down a wall and you find some problems, and we're solving the inner wall problems before we put the plasterboard back up.
Chris. That's killing me.
Wait, we got to get a quick shout out to Dallas's artwork, and I know we have to end this quick. Dallas, in case viewers and listeners don't know, has been drawing the logos of the team we play in paint, by mouse, by hand, whatever you want to call it. And it's going both better and worse than you'd guess. If you check out tubbsattheclub.com, you can see a clearly asymmetrical, not quite maple leaf for Simon Fraser. The Oregon State logo is really not that bad at all. The IU is just the IU logo is adorably asymmetric, Dallas. That is fantastic.
I know. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Why is the one side of the eye off like bigger than the bottom and the other side? Like,
you know what it looks like is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Raphael had size. That looks like it is supposed to be size stabbing into someone, and the tops are not eyes and U's. That's blood trickling.
This one isn't bad, actually. Like, if you just caught a glimpse of it, you'd be like, "That's their logo, right?" Like, that's a pretty complicated logo.
Shark fin beaver, yeah. Cool story. Real quick, Weber State Weekly guy, Sean, gave me this cool belt buckle that only the viewers will understand. It's a limited edition from 1984 from Treasure Mountain Gifts in Craigmont, Idaho. So if anybody knows Treasure Mountain Gifts, I have limited edition number 69, nice, of 5,000. So thank you, Sean. And
wow, that's a better gift than you could ever ask for.
I know. I was kind of like, you know what? I don't really do belt buckles, but like this guy might have to make an appearance. Anyways, closing the bar. Time for the best band. No, it's time for Colby Cuff to play us out with the Moscow Drinking song. Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
So raise your glass and have a drink with me. Here's to the Vandals in the crowd. All just out there living the dream. Right up one and only Moscow drinking.